Not since, well, we,
Not
this,
since the big group.
this year, we had it entirely
So we just.
yeah, but, you know, it's a all that.
Yeah, okay.
So it's gonna ask them, the trend for the nurses too is going to be that. They're just going to call it 6 or 7%. 80%. If we choice,
So I guess, this is one of those things I can't ask, I don't want to cross a line.
no.
When I can meet with them, to say, I hear your concern, I'll pay them. Okay. Yep.
Yes, sir. Is this here to be signed? That piece of paper you have it? Okay.
Yeah. There it is.
How are you doing?
All right, get started. And Dean, we're going to do the budget hearing, the first portion, correct?
Yeah, still have to recall
Okay.
that to order and everything.
I'd like to go ahead and call the 2016 budget hearing for USD 489 meeting to order. And we'll basically go through and review the budget documents and that, and have a period for public comment if we have any. You want to do that first, Dean? Or?
Let's go through the
Okay.
explanation and those things, and then we will.
Some items I wanted to highlight that we did review at the last meeting, but on the notice of hearing, it shows the mill levy for general fund stays at 20 mills. From supplemental general, it raises from 16.114 to 16.158. Capital outlay stays at 8 mills. And then our no fund warrant, we did pay off, so that mill levy is declining from .739 down to 0. So our total mill levy was last year 46.241. This year is 45.609, so our mill levy is going down 0.632 mills. On page 20 of the agenda, I just wanted to point out this chart at the bottom shows how our expenditures are categorized, and 66% of the total budget is going to instruction, and then it breaks out what is for instructional support, administration, operations, things like that. But I thought that was an important chart to point out. On page 43 of the agenda, our assessed valuation did go down from last year. It was at 310 million down to 299 million. We discussed that before, that our valuation did go down, but it was less than 3.5% total for us. So those calculations, or those numbers there, just show what the actual assessed valuation is. Please stop me if anybody has any questions. And on page 44 of the agenda, I wanted to point out at the bottom, our sources of revenue. The revenue per pupil from state, federal, and local revenue is going down from, it was 14,538 was the revenue per pupil last year. It is down to 13,494. So just showing that our revenue per pupil is declining. On the general fund, we've talked about this several times, that capers and supplemental general is now flowing through general fund. Our budget has not increased at all. It's actually declined. But with those flow-throughs, we've always received capers money. It just went into a different fund. Now that it's flowing through capers, it looks like it's increased, but that is inaccurate. We are not receiving any additional money into the general fund. And on page 77 of the agenda shows those two columns, the transfer to supplemental general and the transfer to capers. The last 2 years, there was nothing in those columns because it didn't flow through general fund, and this year it is. On page 102 is the capital outlay budget. I pointed out at our last meeting that our expenditures and our revenue do match at $3,789,000. We do not anticipate spending nearly that amount, but to give us full budget authority in case something catastrophic would happen, we do have the authority to spend all of capital outlay should it ever be needed. And I'll go over capital outlay in a little bit more detail here coming up. Form 151 is the form now that they're using. Form 150 previously would break down based on FTE and all the weightings. We're now using Form 151, and the only true weighting is for virtual. So we've estimated our full-time virtual, part-time, and adult credits for our funding for virtual. And line 8 shows our general state aid of $14,296,000, and then below that you see the transfer in for supplemental, special education, and capers. And on the second page of the Form 151, the extraordinary needs state aid, we've discussed also that 0.4% of our budget is now going into the extraordinary needs fund. So for us, that equates to $54,163 that we received in our budget last year that is now going to that fund. Paul had asked last week if there was any chance that that fund would not be fully distributed if we'd get any of that back. I did receive a note this morning that approximately $12 million is in the extraordinary needs fund. More than $6 million has already been requested for assessed valuations that have declined. Today was the last day to submit your request for that. And one school district alone is asking for $2.7 million because of an increase in enrollment of 500 students. So just in those two things, there's already $8.7 million of the $12 million. So I don't believe there's going to be anything left in that fund. And I put together our capital outlay like we did last year so you can see a breakdown of what exactly we are anticipating spending. The revenue matches the $3.8 million that we anticipate we'll receive. And then we have our leases, our maintenance salaries that come out of capital outlay, our IT, equipment, leases, building and grounds expenditures, and transportation on our 5-year plan. And so we truly have budgeted $2.9 million in capital outlay. I don't even think we'll spend all of that, but we've put plenty in for parking lots and roofs and things like that. We didn't expend everything we had budgeted last year, but those numbers have flowed through every year. So the 2.9 is actually what we truly have budgeted in our accounting system for capital outlay that we anticipate we might spend. And that would leave us a balance of just shy of $900,000 at the end of the year if we expended all of that. And the last thing I wanted to point out was our unencumbered cash balances as of July 1st. This is something that we have to report to the state. And you'll see that general fund actually had a negative $730,000. That is because we do not receive a payment until early in July. So we truly did have a negative balance in that fund in unencumbered cash, but we receive our payment a few days later. Supplemental general, $817,000 is our additional tax that's carrying over, so that does help with our mill levy this year. Capital outlay, we had 1.3 million. Food service, 405,000. Special education, 241,000. Contingency reserve, 331,000. And we had 99,000 left in our textbook and student revolving fund for a total of 3.5 million in cash that we had on July 1st. And we've been asked before, what's a good amount, what's a comfortable amount to have? And our auditors have recommended 3 months worth of expenses. So that would be about 5.6 million is where they would feel comfortable. And most of these funds can't cross over into the other one. We can't take capital outlay money and put it in general fund and special ed and all those things. So that was just one thing we wanted to point out also.
Big
Anything to add?
increase if you look at the special ed co-op at 766, and Mark, do you remember what that was last year? It was less than 200. I know we were very concerned about that, and special ed co-op includes Ellis, La Crosse, Victoria, and Hayes. They pay into the co-op, and that's where that money goes. But that's increased probably $500,000. And still, and I know I have it someplace, but still is less than what you had just a few years ago, I know, is for carryover. But we're getting there.
Are there any questions on these or anything else in the budget document?
Tracy, I just wanted to mention that, our mill levy for what Tracy just explained, the 45.609, but the rec commission, Hayes Rec Commission runs through our budget as well. So their mill levy is at 3 mills, and then for benefits and special liability, 0.898. So when you look at the mill levies, their budget runs through ours. Their mill levy is 3.898, and ours is the 45.609.
Any other questions
That's all
for
I had,
Tracy?
unless there was questions.
I guess at this time, we'll go ahead and open it up for audience participation or public discussion. Anybody having any comments or concerns on the budget? Welcome to come forward. Not everybody at once. Seeing none, I guess we will move, and I would entertain a motion.
Motion that we hear the budget as presented.
Okay.
The next, for this fiscal year.
Okay. Been motioned by Board Member Adams. Do we have a second? Seconded by Board Member Waddell. Any further discussion?
I just have one more quick question. Tracy, on the $5.6 million that you estimated for 3 months of expenses, is there a certain category that we need to have, I'm assuming that's salaries or that needs to be heavier since we can't transfer from one fund to another? Is there, when we're putting that into savings, are we watching and making sure we're distributing that correctly?
Only if we were to pull out of contingency reserve. We have everything budgeted according to, allocated to those areas. If anything would ever be pulled out of contingency reserve, then that would be up to you guys on where that would be placed.
Okay.
And the 5.6 is just for general fund and LOB.
Okay, thank you.
How are you feeling this year versus last year?
Much better?
Much better.
Feel like you're paying a few runs?
Yeah.
All right, looks like it.
Feel very comfortable.
Good.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I don't know if we need to adjourn this meeting now before we start the second one, Dean?
I don't know if you have to adjourn the public hearing, it's part of the meeting, but I'd call the next meeting to order.
Yeah. All right, we will go ahead now and call to order the regular meeting for USD 49 Board of Education for Monday, August 17th. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Been moved by Board Member Rankin. We have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Board Member Fox. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is audience participation. First and only option to address the board. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. School spotlights. Dean?
Yes, I have a couple things there, and then I may transition right down into my report as well. But first of all, I just wanted to congratulate Marty Straub, high school principal, was selected as the Area 5 Principal of the Year candidate for this area. He will be honored in November in Wichita, actually November 9th, but that's a big honor, and I wanted to congratulate him, and we'll have something closer to that time, but wanted to report on that. We had a great back-to-school meeting here, the breakfast, and I complimented Lance just a little bit ago on his speech. Real short, great message, some personal stories, and it just transitioned into what our theme is this year, and just worked out great about attitudes and those things. Last year our theme was building on the best. This year, celebrating success, and did a lot of talking and expectations of attitudes and moving forward. And with all of the new things we have, we're going to have some challenges, needless to say, and it's just been a great start to the year. I honestly can say this is the best one that I've had. It's been very positive. Teachers have done a great job. On the spotlight as well, you see how much tech time we had, meetings all summer for technology, getting to know programs and how to use some of the technology in the classrooms, and also for English language arts, a program that we're starting to implement. But the teachers logged 2,100 hours, over 2,100 hours of in-service time this summer, and we didn't pay for that. And that to me, that spoke volumes about how committed they are to what direction we're going, and I can't compliment them enough, and they've really taken it serious. It's been very good. Our summer cleaning, all of those things, I mean, we still have a few issues. We did more than what was expected. It took a little bit more at the high school, doing all the floors and those things. But we will go through every building as we go here. We have a few little things we need to get caught up on, and actually we'll probably end up replacing some carpet in some areas and doing some things that just thought cleaning would help, and it hasn't. But overall, those guys, the custodians, maintenance crew did a great job and worked extremely hard through all of that. One of the things that I want to say is the Best of the Best Awards. Whiskey Creek and Gillis have told us that they are going to continue to do those awards. The certificate, I believe it's $50, which is a pretty big deal for one of our students and one of our staff members every month. So we're going to be asking for nominations for that. We will start in September with that, and looking forward to it. And I know President Bickle will have a way to select those out of the candidates and things, and we can determine that. He'll be calling you guys probably for that. Some of the things that I can't say worried about, but you're always apprehensive here, was the transition for Washington students, teachers, all of that, and I think staff went exceptionally well. They are in their buildings and part of those new teams and enjoying that. Students, Alan was working just the other day again with a couple families that didn't have their first choice or transportation and some things, and doing home visits. And as far as I know, I think we're pretty much done with that now, and it went really well. Don has moved the Early Childhood Connections program down there. They're making it look like a primary school and early childhood center now with painting and all of that. They still have some of that to do, but building, the construction things we needed to do is complete, and it's going to be a neat program. So sometime we need to do some tours of buildings, but that's one that it's a perfect fit for them. So I think that was a good decision. We are going to have our iPad pilot rollout on Thursday, the 20th, at the middle school. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take to do these things. I know the tech people and some of their kids and anybody they could find, we're putting all of those in cases. We have over 2,000 of them to put in cases, and I think they were up to 1,300 or more. So we will have enough for Thursday, obviously, to start the rollout, but as we go through that, we will learn more and get those in the kids, or hands of the kids, and start that process. High school rollout of their new devices, I think, went well. Not, there's always little things, but I know our new tech director said how impressed he was, and I thought this speaks volumes about Hayes. He came from a smaller district and has been around, and he just said he could not believe how respectful the kids at Hayes High were. And to me, you love to hear those things, that, man, they appreciated that, getting that new device, and were so respectful and, thanking him, and just, he was very impressed. So kudos to the high school students and their attitudes with that. So again, we've just had a great start to the year here, and going to be a great one. I can't wait. Our new principals, Shannon Damel at O'Laughlin, we've been kind of teasing her. She got trial by fire there, a couple things. That one of the first days, leak in the kitchen, and it was funny. The custodian got there right after that, and he was saying, "Oh, I wish I would have got a picture of her trying to stop this leak in her dress." This was right before she went out to the high school for the opening ceremony, but things like that. I mean, you just laugh. She has a great attitude and is doing exceptionally well and taking all those things in stride. And then Shauna Zweifel at the middle school just is going to be another great one. So I think we did a very good job with that. And when I get to superintendent's report, I went through a bunch of this, but I have a couple things I'll go over. Enrollment, but I guess
Next item on the agenda, which I don't know that we'll have much, report of committees.
I don't have anything, and nothing on communications from other organizations. And next, in September, I'm sure we will start having a lot of those. And we do intend to have a technology update from students and those things after we get the devices in their hands, and talk to teachers and things, and keep that dialogue going. Let me talk about enrollment just a little bit. We still have kids coming and going. Had another middle school student and I think 4th or 5th grader enrolled today. So these numbers aren't exact, but as of actually I changed it today. We have last year on September 20th, that's the magic day that we count and use those figures. We had 1,467 kindergarten through 5th graders. Right now we have 1,457, so that's 10 less than we had on September 20th last year. But we still have kids coming in, and it's hard to say. I think we'll be very close. At the middle school, the last numbers I had, we had 630 last year on the 20th, and as of today, we had 662 or 3. So up quite a bit there. High school, 766. And these numbers do include some of our special or gifted students from out of district and some of those things, but doing comparison so we can look. This year, 755, and so that puts us about 9 students more than what we had at this time, or on September 20th last year. And again, these numbers will change, but we're up about 9 students than from what we had last year. Middle school numbers, again, that is where the largest class sizes are. Elementary numbers are pretty much evened out. There's a few red sections, meaning they're closed, but we have some room for growth. We just need to be strategic when we place students coming in. So overall, I'm pleased with that. And again, as we go through the next couple of weeks here, we'll see some kids come and go. I do not have numbers for all the virtual school and the learning center. There are certain days, we'll have those by September 20th, obviously, and those all go into our count numbers where we have 3,200 or something. Right now, we have 2,870. This does not include any early childhood connections, the 4-year-old at risk, all of those numbers, but just K-12 numbers is what I went through, and we're up about 9 students.
Any other questions for Dean on the superintendent report? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Just a motion to approve the board meeting minutes for August 3rd, 2015, negotiation meeting minutes for August 5th, 2015, personnel transactions, the approval of bills in the amount of $1,841,996.88, bill summary, the surplus items, and financial reports to include the clerk's report, investment report, and the petty cash report.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Been moved by Board Member Waddell. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been seconded by Board Member Rankin. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next item on the agenda is discussion by board members and agenda requests. Open it up for any discussion that anybody may have.
I do want to, and I should have said this during my report, but Saturday at 8 o'clock, we do have our retreat starting here in this room, and looking forward to that. But just as a reminder.
Perfect. Anybody else? Okay, Dean, I think we do need an exec session to discuss negotiations, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
SEIU and K&E.
We'll
H&E.
make a motion to enter into exec session for a period of, say, 30 minutes to begin at 7 o'clock and end at 7:30 to include the board, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, director of finance. I don't think Shauna is here tonight, so we'll skip that. And I don't think Bill is here tonight. And lead negotiator Greg Schwartz for the purposes of negotiations. We have a second? Okay. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I'm working to be short.